Hello, hello, hello. I am here. And today I am in my studio. It's a little dreary outside, looks like rain. I was broadcasting from my deck last week and I loved it. It was so much fun. So I wanted to do that again. I'm going to batch some episodes. So maybe when the weather gets nice, I'll do that because I have a trip coming up and I'm going to be gone. So I'm not going to be recording podcasts in Greece, but I will be posting on Facebook as long as my internet works. I don't even know. I'm going to be in some remote island in Greece and I might not even have an internet connection. And maybe that's a good thing. So some real downtime. So I'm excited about that. And I am looking forward to an adventure. I haven't been on a big adventure like this for quite some time. But what I want to talk about today is I was thinking about human connection. And what got me thinking about human connection was an amazing movie I watched with my grandson. When I was up watching him, my daughter and son-in-law, my youngest daughter and son-in-law went to a wedding and they got away from their children for 2 nights. And I always encourage parents to do that. And if you are a grandparent, encourage your kids to do that because it's really good for the relationship and they get to rebond. And I think my daughter's, she had her baby in February and they haven't, I don't think, well, they did go on an anniversary trip overnight, but they got away. They went to a beautiful wedding in Connecticut and they had a wonderful time. So I was up with my grandchildren and the 3-year-old, he likes to watch movies and a lot of kids like that age like to watch the same things over and over and over again. And adults, we get tired of watching the same thing over. I don't know about you, but I mean, I like Jumanji. I'll watch over and over again. I love that. But a lot of movies I don't want to keep watching over and over again. He likes things like Blippi. If you don't know who Blippi is, he's a YouTube sensation. There were even Blippi dolls, and he even had Blippi underwear on. So Blippi's a kind of a guy that dresses up. He kind of reminds me of Pee Wee Herman. He dresses up and he goes and to different, like he'll go to a construction site and he'll pretend to play in the construction site. He's adult. But kids love him. And then he'll go to a playground and he'll play on the playground. But anyways, so I had heard about, I think one of my followers told me about this movie called Soul. It's a Disney movie, and my daughter and son-in-law have access to Disney Plus. So amazing movie. And of course, because what I do and help people find purpose, it is a movie about that. And it's got the new animation. I think about the cartoons when I was little. I mean, the things they do with animation, it's like claymation and they make these little people seem so real. And it was such a great story and it really resonated with me. And I thought, oh my gosh, it's so abundant to have a human connection. And that's really what this movie was all about. And it was, and just to give you a little touch of what the movie's about, the main character, he's a school teacher, a music teacher, and his dream has always been to play with some famous person. I can't even remember her name. And so he gets a gig and he ends up, he gets it. He goes and auditions and gets it. And then he leaves and he's so excited. He falls into a manhole and dies. So he dies. And the next thing you know, he's on an escalator to heaven. And he doesn't want to go to heaven because he just got his dream job. And he's like trying to get away. And he runs down the escalator and he ends up coming to this holding station. I guess it's a holding station. It's where new souls are born, entry station maybe. And so when a new soul is born, and then of course the new soul's born, and then a new soul gets a mentor and goes to this other place where they find their gift, their unique gift. And so everybody has a unique gift. And that's what I teach, right? It's so neat. I love it. I'm going to have to watch it again. I'm going to go up and I'm going to stay with them this coming Monday, and I'm going to watch it again, take notes this time. But, and then once you get your gift, you are free to go down to earth and become a human. And so he tries to mingle with the new souls and go back to earth, and he keeps getting rejected and get forced back He's getting forced back because he's dead and he's not a new soul. And so, but he can be a mentor. So they decide to have him mentor a very difficult new soul, a new soul that has not managed to find a gift and go to Earth yet. And this new soul is very, very resistant to going to Earth. The new soul doesn't even want to go to Earth, where most new souls do. And this new soul has been mentored by many, many, many famous people. It's so cute. It's the whole concept is so adorable. So, so what happens is, by accident, total accident, the dead music teacher and the difficult new soul end up going to Earth. And I'm not going to explain the details, but they end up going to Earth for a bit. And but they don't go into their old bodies. The music teacher ends up being in a cat, and the new soul ends up being in the teacher's body. They get mixed up. And so this new soul, who has like different gifts and a different personality, is really pretending to be the new music teacher. But what happens is, because the new soul was so resistant to going to Earth, because the new soul hadn't experienced Earth and didn't know what being human was like, and then finally was able to experience it and found that human connection that it really can't be known or even described until you experience it. And so that made me think about how abundant, like, because to me, the abundance is seeing the good in what you have, seeing the good that we dismiss and we don't realize we have. And so, and it will also open the eyes to the music teacher as well. But once this new soul had that experience, it was so beautiful to watch this person. And it made me feel like how lucky I feel to be a human, to have this experience of a human life. And then it made me start to think about how I thought about the pandemic, and I thought about how that human connection piece for many was missing for quite some time. And how many people, I felt like this whole like collective, the human collective, was in this dark place because we weren't connecting. We were depressed. We were sequestered. We were alone. And how having the ability to have things open up, to have the vaccine available, have people like worry less and feel more confident and can go back out into the world and do the things that they weren't able to do for so long. I mean, my heart goes out to the kids that are having their college experiences, the kids that like missed prom, the football players that weren't able to play their last seasons, and all those things that weren't able to be done, and how much they're appreciated. And so it started to me thinking about what I did differently after things opened up to connect as a human. And two of the things that really have been special to me are connecting with family members that I haven't seen for a long time. And so part of the reason I wanted to do this episode is, number one, I just loved the movie Soul, and I thought everybody should watch it because it really speaks to like, where are you in life, and are you really doing what you're here to do, and do you have that gift? Do you know what that gift is? And then in terms of the connection, because that message was so deep to me, in terms of connecting with humans, are you connecting? And do you appreciate it more? And if you aren't connecting, is there somebody in your life that you miss, that you haven't connected with in a long time? And that happens honestly with family members that are like extended family members. And so in my particular example and situation, so my father died in 2007, and he had 3 sisters. 2 are living. And when we didn't grow up in the same town, I have always been a little envious of like families who have extended families that live near them, because my mom was an Army brat, and basically she has two sisters, and wherever her father being in the military, wherever he was when they were at the age where they were settling down, they landed there. It was like he sprinkled his daughters throughout the United States. So on my mom's side and on my dad's side, never had family that lived close by. So my cousins are dispersed throughout. And so my dad is from Boston. I was born in Boston, but we moved to Virginia when I was small. And so I would go in the summers up to Massachusetts, and my aunts were so much fun. And so particularly my one aunt, she's always been single, and she's was so much fun to, we would go to the beach with her in her convertible. I remember one time we were driving home from the beach, and our muffler fell and it was dragging, and we just like had a dragging muffler, and the sparks were flying. And I remember another time we were driving to downtown Boston, and our car conked out, and we had to, I don't know what we ended up doing, but I remember sitting on the side of a curb. But yeah, I have these memories of going to the beach, and we're having so much fun. They're like, it's some family members, you're genetically connected, and you just like, you get each other, right? And no matter how much time goes by, you are back in that place where you're just connected with these people, right? And when I think about it, my two aunts that are still alive, my dad was the second oldest, and so my aunt, who is the youngest, she and I are, she's only like 14 years older than me. She was like 14 years old when I was born. And so anyways, so this year I haven't seen I saw my aunts right after my dad died. I remember we went up and we went through pictures and told stories and things like that pretty soon after my dad died. I don't know when the last time I saw her was. My one aunt, she's the youngest, and she lives part-time in Florida. And so I had this idea as things were opening up last spring, and I might have talked about this in a previous episode, so I apologize if you heard that and I'm repeating myself. But when I was thinking about human connection, I thought connecting to my aunt and to my cousin, who I haven't seen for so long, has been so important to me and so abundant to me. It makes me appreciate so much that I have them in my life, and that I took the time to see them. So what happened was, we've been talking about going to Florida and checking it out, because maybe at some point we're going to get a second place, and where would we want to be? We don't even know, like in Florida, where would that be? We just want to go somewhere warmer. We don't even know that it's Florida. But anyways, we have friends who go to Florida and they keep bugging us. And so he's like, okay, we'll go down, we'll start on the west side, because we'll look around there. We were thinking, oh, Sarasota sounds interesting. And then I was thinking, oh, by the way, my cousin and my aunt, and by the way, that cousin is not the daughter of that aunt. So it's the niece of that aunt. So we were like, okay. So I said to my husband, he's so great. I mean, he's just, he realizes if I want to do something, he'll support it. And so I said, and he hadn't met these people, because we've been married. That's interesting. We've been married 12 years. We've been together 14 years. My dad died 14 years ago. And so when I went to see them right after he died, I just went with my sister. So I didn't go with him. So he hadn't even met these people. He didn't know who the heck I was talking about. And so anyways, and he did meet my dad. So, my husband that I'm married to, we dated in college. So he knew my dad in college. And fortunately, about 6 months before he died, when my husband and I first started dating again and reconnected, we did go to Florida. And so he was able to reconnect with my father. And then my father died suddenly 6 months later. So he knew my dad. So we go to Florida, and I line up being able to go see my cousin. They live in two separate places in Florida. So she lives near the Tampa area, and my aunt lives in Sarasota. So I cooked up, like, let's go see my cousin. And in the process, her father lives very close by to her with his wife. I'd never met his wife, by the way. So Crystal's mother had died, But they had been divorced for a long, long time. This is another whole thing of this human connection. So we go and we have a lunch with them, and my uncle, who I haven't seen since I was 17 years old, I haven't seen him since my grandfather's funeral. And he made an effort. He's in his 80s. He made an effort. He and his wife came to have lunch at my cousin's house with my husband and I. And it was the best thing. I think I just was like, I got to tell him how important he was in my life, how much I loved him. And, I missed that because he was like severed from the family, because that's what happens when divorce. And, but I have so many memories of when I was younger, when he was still married to my aunt, and have memories of being at their house, staying at their house, doing things with them. And so connecting after this pandemic and being able to give him a hug and have that moment was just very, very special to me. So yeah. And so then I went ahead and a couple of days later, we went and saw my aunt. And my aunt, she has a similar story to mine. Maybe she influenced me a little way, but she is married she had a boyfriend when she was in her early 20s, and they got pregnant. And back in the days, this was like in the 50s or early 60s, because I think I was like 5. So I think I was like 64, that she had this baby out of wedlock, and he was a different religion. He was Jewish and she was Methodist. And oh no, you don't date outside your religion back in those days. So it was very painful. She had to give the baby up for adoption. Well, 30 years later, the baby found her. She said, let me find your biological father. They got together, they went to lunch, and they reconnected. And she's been married now for like 27 years to this person. She got married about the same time I got married, around 50 years old. I think maybe she was 52 when they got married. But anyways, I digress. So we went to see them, she and her husband. And oh, it was just like catching up. Like, I hadn't seen her for years, but like hadn't a day hadn't gone by, a moment hadn't passed since I had seen them. And I got to see like where she lives in Florida. And, we said, let's see each other again real soon. We don't know how much time we have left. And especially, when you think about the pandemic, even more so that comes to light. So it's like, make these human connections and, rekindle those human connections if they're lost. So anyways, and it's funny too, because, I was thinking about this whole soul when I saw the Soul movie, and I had just reached out to her again, and we ended up talking on the phone. I mean, we talked for like an hour on the phone, but because my dad is no longer here to bring us together, then I have to be the one to do that. I have to be the one that takes the initiative to keep in touch and to maintain that connection. And every time I do, I feel so happy afterwards, because my mom is not available to me anymore. She is in assisted living and she's disconnected. She doesn't really speak, doesn't really communicate. And so I feel like my aunt is my closest thing to having a mom. And I just love her. We just get along. We very much, our personalities jive. So my cousin recently reached out. So we've been, even though we've been on Facebook, we haven't really been communicating too much until now that we've reconnected. And so she was on her way. She had a friend who died suddenly of a heart attack, and it made her think, how much time do I have? Now, she's from Massachusetts. She grew up in Massachusetts. She's living in Florida. And so she's like, I'm going to go to Massachusetts. I want to drive to Massachusetts and see my aunts. And so I'm on the way, kind of. It's like a little veer off, maybe an hour extra. And so I said, why don't you stop by? I've lived in this house for 8 years. She's never, I don't even think she's ever, since I've been an adult, come to visit. She came to visit when I was a kid, when I lived with my parents, but as an adult, we've never lived in the same place. She's lived in Florida, Massachusetts, California, and she had a little bit of a crazy life, but she's 3 years younger than me. So anyways, she was coming up this way, and I said, hey, can you come by and stay the night? And tried to talk her into staying an extra day, but she has 2 standard poodles, and so she had some traveling companions, and they were a little stressed out by the trip, so she wanted to get them up to where they were familiar, because she's been in Massachusetts before, and so that's where they were familiar, and so she was only here just not even 24 hours. But we had so much fun. And do you know that I learned some family shit? So you think you know it all, and then you're like, holy moly, there is like, it's like, I was messaging my kids and saying, you won't believe what I found out about my family. We already had some skeletons in the closet, and then there's even more skeletons in the closet. So it's crazy family. But everybody has those stories. I mean, we're not abnormal. But anyways, it was my point of this, and I thought the reason why I wanted to talk about it was because I just wanted to say how much these human connection matters to me, and how much this past year connecting with these people who I love so much and who I don't make an effort to reach out to or haven't, and how abundant and grateful I feel for having them in my life. And I don't even think I let them know that. So that's one thing that I should do, is actually tell them. I mean, we hug, we say, oh, thank you for coming. It was so nice to see you. But to actually say, I'm so grateful for having you in my life. I'm so grateful that you're a part of my family. I'm so grateful that we have connected again, and let's keep it up. So I will commit to doing that. And I'm committed to seeing them more often and connecting more often. In fact, we're going to be spending all of February in Florida. And so we're going to be on the East Coast. And so if you live down there, let me know, because we can get together. I got together with one of my followers when I was in Florida in April, and that was really fun. So I could definitely hook up with somebody if they want to do coffee. But yeah, I am gonna see her when I'm down there. I'm gonna make a point of seeing her again when I'm down there. And my cousin, if she's still there, she's talking about moving, so we'll see where she is come March. February, March. I think she said she's going to move in March, so she'll probably still be there in February. So I hope you got something out of this episode. I hope that you make a commitment out of listening to this to reconnect to somebody who you've lost a connection with. And I know that if they hear from you, if you're thinking about them, I'm sure they would love to hear from you. So until next time, have a great weekend.